We're here in Petersburg, Alaska, summer of 2015. We are going to have some king salmon today, and this is Dave and Nancy's special recipe. We've got a side of king salmon here that we're going to use, and we're going to create a little...
Where's it from?
A little marinade. King salmon's from Coastal Cold Storage. But we're going to create a little marinade here, first of all, with some soy sauce and some honey. Heated up the honey a little bit. It pours really well that way. We're going to put some garlic powder in it and some salt and pepper. We have kosher salt and pepper from our pepper grinder. Okay?
And
so during the break, we mixed up our marinade really well, and now we're going to start with our salmon fillet. One of the things you want to do with your salmon fillet is try to keep the pieces consistently thick, so that when you cook them, they cook evenly. So what you have to do is kind of gauge how thick you want your slices to be, and in this case, we're probably going to go maybe about 3/4 of an inch. So at 1.5 inches, I'm actually going to slice all the way through the skin, creating a fillet. Then I'm going to come halfway back and I'm going to only slice through the meat and leave the skin intact, so that when we flip the fillet up, it becomes a nice butterflied piece of salmon that's consistently thick for both our marinade and for our grilling.
yeah. Cut.
So people often wonder what you do with a small tail piece or something like that of salmon. And I prefer to have a little sushimi out of it, which is basically the Japanese technique of having a raw salmon or uncooked salmon, or any other fish for that matter. I mean, you can do it with octopus or anything. So what I've done is I've created a little little soy sauce here with some wasabi, horseradish, and then we're going to prepare some small pieces of salmon here that we cut off the tail. And generally I like to do kind of the tail a little bit because it's less likely to have bone in it, but you can cut off some nice little pieces and then have them available for your guests to try if they've not tried them before.
And cut.
It's important to have a glass of wine, so that you can have a little bit of refreshment when you're doing this too. Our next step is to prepare the salmon to go on the grill. And I do this by having a double layer of aluminum foil and putting some extra virgin olive oil on the foil. And as I set the fish down onto it, I move it around just a little bit so that it won't stick to the surface when it's cooking. That should be enough for now. Enough video, I mean. So now that we have our fillets out, I'm going to turn up the edges of this just a little bit so that it doesn't drip down onto the grill. A lot of times when hot oil drips down onto the grill, it tends to flare up a little bit. And this actually will allow us a place to put the excess marinade and just put it on the top, because we've only marinated these for about 15 minutes. Let's go grill. Here in Alaska, we like to grill all year. As you can see, we've got a covered deck, we've got windows outside that we can look through. And of course, we've got the open deck too, but it's nice to be able to grill all year round. So I've got the grill set up pretty hot because we want to cook this fairly quickly. And what I'll do is just slide this off of the grill, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We want this to heat up to about 140 degrees. So one thing I really like to do is keep an eye on the temperature of the fish, because it tends to overcook very easily. And when it overcooks, most fish gets quite dry. I use an electronic thermometer to measure the temperature of the interior of the fish as it's cooking. And it doesn't take very long. When I mentioned 140 degrees before for fish, it continues to cook after it's been on the grill. And this fish is ready to go.